see me where I go. The ardent knights on bended knee made vows of faith and loyalty. Those with more prudence dare to guess where their good king would soon process. First gave his word, for this great land I'll wield my sword. Said the great king, this lacks wisdom, we must save all of Christendom. Then next came forth the good Guillaume, I will defend our Christian home, but I would count the price too steep to now so dead upon the deep. Some men beg to stay behind to guard their earthly pleasures, while others left to heathen lands to fight for heavenly treasures. A glorious tale throughout the land, a valiant feat, a lesson of Charlemagne and knightly peers when treason did aggress them. They rode out of Frankish lands with mighty steeds in armor. Roland and his bravest knights who fought at Roncesvalles. At a distance from their king there trailed the faithful warriors. Roland and his peers did pass by canyon rocks and boulders. Saracens in ambush charged by treason, was it triggered? Sword and shield in battle clashed, the faint of heart would wither. Overwhelmed in numbers great, the warriors fought on bravely, dealing mighty blows and prayers, saying, "Strengthen us, O Lady." Roland fought a valiant fight, as flies he dropped their numbers. All his men did give their all, their blows as sounding thunder. And there approached to Roland's side his Excellency Turpin, who with his mace dealt swiftest blows to hardy enemy soldiers. The bishop said, "We die this day, good Charles cannot be seen. My son, for thy imprudence we now with our lives must pay. Yet valiant now, O men of light, behold I now absolve. For all thy sins one penance told, go strike the enemy cold." And after this the bishop struck as enemies fell in waves, and in his wake of swings and breaks was struck by enemy blades. Oliver said, "Roland, now 'tis time to call the emperor." Then blew his olifant, he did his temples burst asunder. Seems we meet our end, may God receive us surely. For him who hung upon the cross we die, and this is glory. And on the wind a distant sound had reached the ears of Charles. 'Tis Roland and his olifant, to war we fight with honor. Sire, do wait, for this could be merely a false alarm. Silence, says he to Ganelon, these words can only harm. Bind this man, this traitor, I'll deal with him in time. It seems that silver won his soul, till treason be his crime. Then charged great Charles with army strong to crush that ambush brazen, and aid his nephew's faithful band to battle did they hasten. A mortal blow did Roland take, therefore he would expire, but not before giving crushing blows to the enemies of his sire. When towards the last he raised his eyes, a knightly angel shone, Saint Michael, who would bear his soul and take to heaven's throne. When at last the emperor rode through battlefield now hushed, and in his grief saw Roland pass, yet enemies round him crushed. My lord, look hence far distantly, and see the enemy fleeth. And all did hasten to the chase with blazing indignation. And as he rode, great Charles saw the sun begin to set, yet prayed to God the sun to stop, lest justice not be met. And surely did the sun hold place, as God heard Charles plead. The distance closed upon his foes, who lost all means to flee. As thunder clashed, the battle shook the earth unto its depths. And all who escaped the sword took swim, yet drowned by river swept. And as the final foe gave cry, when Charles's sword he met, the heavens shone in a brilliant sky, and then the sun did set. Don John of Austria stood aboard his flagship, staring in awe at the distant horizon. Hundreds of vessels of the Turkish Sultan, destined for Europe and certain invasion. From ship to ship now rousing his forces, stalwart and brave is the fearless commander. Spanish, Venetians, soldiers of Naples, all hear his words full of boldness and candor. Santa Maria, crush now the crescent, banish the slaves of the foul wicked serpent. Vessel of honor, now make us victorious. We pledge our arms to your Son, most glorious. Fill us with courage, Queen of the ocean. This day by fighting we'll show our devotion. From port to starboard, let echo these loud words. There can be no paradise for cowards. Muslim invaders with the greater numbers press to advance in a crescent formation. Galleys of Venice rode into position, flamed as a cross by the Spanish legation. Win with the foes now quickly advancing, clashes break out at our flanks and our center. Cannons to bear now strike at their flagship, make them regret ever seeing our standard. Santa Maria, crush now the crescent, banish the slaves of the foul wicked serpent. Vessel of honor, now make us victorious. We pledge our arms to your Son, most glorious. Fill us with courage, Queen of the ocean. This day by fighting you'll show our devotion. From port to starboard, let echo these loud words. There can be no paradise for cowards. Then, without warning, winds completely shifted. Our own reserves quickly joined in the fighting. Ships lashed in combat, spears and swords are striking. Blood fills the sea, crossing crescent colliding. Slaves free from bondage rush on the high deck, cutting the head from the Saracen leader. High on a pike, his head quickly brandished. Muslims lose heart as things turn in our favor. Santa Maria, crush now the crescent, banish the slaves of the foul wicked serpent. Vessel of honor, now make us victorious. We pledge our arms to your Son, most glorious. Fill us with courage, Queen of the ocean. This day Muslims flee in terror, as from a glance of a terrible vision. Soundly we crush them, forcing their surrender. 10,000 slaves freed from Muslim oppression. As a great marvel, the Holy Father sees the great triumph of his grand alliance. Boldly he cries out, sound every bell now, our lands are saved due to Catholic defiance. Santa Maria, Lady of Victory, let songs be sung at this moment of history. Let every Catholic his praises now cry out. May the great flame of this triumph not die out. As at the Ponto hasten to help us, be our defense from the powers of darkness. Call to the battles the new generations, till Christ be honored as King of all nations. Santa Maria, Lady of Victory, let songs be sung at this moment of history. Let every Catholic his praises now cry out. May the great flame of this triumph not die out. As at the Ponto hasten to help us, be our defense from the powers of darkness. Call to the battles the new generations, till Christ be honored as King of all nations. The worst of men are now working to trample scepter and cross, to force upon us foul evils, to bring great ruin and loss. But every age has its warriors, who boldly rise up and say, the blood that flows through my veins bids me fight for virtue this day. But every age has its warriors, who boldly rise up and say, the blood that flows through my veins bids me fight for virtue this day. They heard the voice of the soul calling with each beat of the heart. They live the truths of the past and live from the world set apart. These knights of manly ideals left hearth and home for the field. They trained their arms to defend every truth the Church had revealed. These knights of manly ideals left hearth and home for the field. They trained their arms to defend every truth the Church had revealed. The enemies of the mass are now trampling reason and right. Vile men spread error, confusion, and doubt all day and all night. They sought to kill our good fathers, our brothers.
To your Catholic Drive Time,
keeping you informed and inspired.
We love God, we ought to be able to talk about Him.
Getting you started on your day.
With the latest in breaking news and information.
From the Vatican to the White House and everything in between.
It's serious, it's fun, it's your Catholic Drive Time.
Now here's your host, Joe McClain.
Praise be
be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you on this Wednesday, November the 23rd, 2022, on the feast day of Blessed Miguel Agustín Pro, priest and martyr. The only real question is, if he died a martyr, why isn't he a saint yet? Anyway, we're going to have Dr. Paul Kengor back on the program today. Praise be to God. We're going to follow up on that conversation we had last week about this brand new book out of TAN called The Devil and Bella Dodd, One Woman's Struggle Against Communism and Her Redemption. Great, great book. Can't recommend it enough. There's over 1,000 footnotes in this book, all very well referenced. So if you're looking for like a definitive, what did she say? How did she say it? Where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Keep the receipts, all in this book. We're going to talk to Paul Kengor. What does Bella Dodd, communism, and Vatican II all have in common? Well, Dr. Kengor is going to answer that coming up at 35 past the hour. Do join us if you can. Kevin Wells is on the program today at 15 past. He's got a brand new article out over at Crisis Magazine talking about the Pope and the Synod. It's really all about making evangelization great again. Join us at 15 past for that. David L. Gray joins us at the top of the next hour. We're going to talk about why the FDA should limit access to dangerous chemical abortion drugs. And doctors are arguing about all of this in a brand new lawsuit. Tons of stories in the news, of course. Pope Francis has fired the top leadership at Caritas International, to include Cardinal Tagle. You know, the guy who a lot of people say could be the next pope. Yeah, he just got fired. Yikes. 2 Arizona election boards have delayed certification from this recent midterm election because they want more answers out of Maricopa County. Very interesting. Hey, Dr. Fauci's last day on the job was yesterday. Did you know? And he used that opportunity to promote booster shots. He wants everyone to get, he basically says, if you don't get the booster shot, you know, it's not looking good for you this winter. That was Dr. Fauci's last day. Hey, in totally unrelated other news, a brand new documentary film called Died Suddenly has received more than 3 million views in the last 24 hours on Rumble. Those things are not related at all. The Catholic University of America, and a statement yesterday, has come out and said, quote, the Catholic University of America is committed to upholding the teachings of the Catholic Church, which includes the belief that marriage is between one man and one woman, close quote. Praise be to God.
Based.
I would like to see that same statement from every Catholic university, every Catholic organization, all over this country, to include the USACB. That'd be
another
fantastic.
News, H2O is water.
In other news, H2O is water. Good morning to you, Rudy Carlos.
Good morning. It's Friday.
Well,
kind of.
sort of. We are going to be here
sorta.
the next 2 days.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's actually Wednesday.
We do have new content ready to go.
Thanksgiving Eve.
For tomorrow
For some.
and for Friday. Mm-hmm. But we personally will be at home gluttonizing once again.
Oh, that is a good point, Joe.
Yeah.
Let's take this opportunity to just bring to mind. Thanksgiving is not an opportunity for you to fall into that grave sin of gluttony.
Mm-hmm. If you have to unbutton your pants after your meal to find relief,
you've gone too far.
You might have gone a little too far.
You might have crossed the line a little.
Possibly.
Bit.
Maybe.
Yeah. So keep that in mind tomorrow, dear listener.
Speaking of gluttony, Adrian Fonseca's here on the ones and twos. Good morning to you, Adrian.
Ouch. See how they treat me? See how they treat me?
He's a glutton for punishment.
Tell me you moderate your Thanksgiving meal.
I only eat everything. That's it.
Yeah. Who doesn't, though? That's my point. Is it okay?
I was talking about this last Saturday with Dr. Stein, and tomorrow, if you tune in to the show tomorrow with Dr. Rebar, we talk about gratitude, and part of the thing we talk about is how we celebrate it's actually a great holiday, Thanksgiving, because we recognize giving gratitude for the things we have. Okay. But at the same time, the culture, the devil, desires to corrupt these things and say, oh, Thanksgiving, enjoying a good meal with your family? Well, let's do gluttony instead.
Right.
Gratitude? Oh, let's have Black Friday right afterwards and commit the sin of envy.
Yeah.
The same thing goes for everything. Halloween, they say, oh, it's its feast of celebrating, we're getting ready for All Saints Day. Let's celebrate witches and demons.
All right.
So there you go.
That's tomorrow with Dr. Rebard. So tune in for that. The podcast will be available to you if you're going to be enjoying your Thanksgiving, rightfully so. You'll be able to listen to that in the podcast, and I'm sure we'll put a video out at some point too.
The video will be out tomorrow.
All right. So tune in for that. Let's pray. Let's begin. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Now your headlines with Rudy Carlos.
Good morning. Thanks for tuning into Catholic Drive Time. Today is not actually Friday. It's Wednesday, November the 23rd, and here are your headlines this morning. Ground News reports, evoking Castro, Putin and Cuban leader pledge to deepen ties. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Cuban counterpart Miguel Diaz-Canel unveiled a monument in North Moscow Square, on Tuesday to Cuban revolutionary leader Fidel Castro, pledging to deepen their friendship in the face of U.S. sanctions against both countries. The Washington Examiner reports, consumer sentiment on housing falls to record low as Fed hikes rates. About 4 out of 5 consumers describe home buying conditions as bad, according to the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Survey for this month. That's the highest number recorded by the survey, which goes back to 1978. Sales of existing homes have fallen for a 9th straight month and are now at the lowest level since 2020. Existing home sales plunged by nearly 6% in October. Sales were down nearly 30% from a year ago. The Epoch Times reports 10% of California legislature identifies as so-called LGBTQ. At least 519 so-called out LGBTQ candidates won elected office this year in positions ranging from school board up to Congress and governor. That's a record well up from 2020 when 336 so-called LGBTQ candidates won. According to Equality California, they calculate that California is the first state to pass the 10% threshold. You can imagine how that's going to be for anything at legislature regardless. Breitbart reports chaos in briefing room as press secretary saves Fauci from questions on COVID origins in his farewell presser, saying, quote, "We have a process here. I'm not calling on people who yell, and you're being disrespectful to our colleagues, and you're being disrespectful to our guests," White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre said while glaring at a reporter in one of the back rows. Then, entering a back and forth with reporters, one argued that they were having a press briefing and she needs to call from people across the room and that she had a valid question. Saying, quote, "She's asking about the origin of COVID-19. Dr. Fauci is the best person to answer," unquote. Jean-Pierre responded by stating, "I hear your question, but we're not doing it the way you want to do it. I'm done." And those are your headline news this morning. God love you.
The saint of the day is Saint Felicitas. The biography here is by Saint Gregory the Great. From a sermon on Blessed Felicitas, "Consider, dear brothers, this man's heart in a woman's body. Before death, she stood without fear. She feared to lose the light of the truth in her sons if she kept them alive. Shall I call this woman a martyr? She is more than a martyr, since she died 7 times before her own death, by each of the 7 wages of love which she sent to precede her in the kingdom. The mother saw the death of her sons with great suffering, but without fear. She mixed the joy of hope with the pain of nature. She feared for them to live. She rejoices at their death. She wished to leave none after her, lest in order to preserve one of them as a survivor, she could not keep him as a companion in heaven. Let none of you imagine, dear brothers, that seeing her sons die, the heart of this mother did not vibrate with natural tenderness. Her sons, whom she knew to be her own flesh, she could not but see them die with pain. But she had within her a strong enough love to overcome the pain of flesh. Felicitas loved her sons as nature intended, But for the sake of the heavenly fatherland, she wished that those whom she loved should die. And even in her presence, it was she who felt their wounds, but it was she who multiplied herself, so to speak, in the person of the sons who preceded her to the kingdom. With reason I call this woman more than a martyr, for in her ardor she died in each one of her sons, and thus reached a many-fold martyrdom. She carried away a palm that exceeded that of the other martyrs. The ancients had the custom that the council would hold office for a fixed period of time, but if one of them became council for the second or third time, he surpassed in praise and dignity those who had this position only once. Therefore, Blessed Felicitas surpassed the martyrs in their glory, for she died as many times as the sons she had, who died for Christ before her. Her love for God was such that her own death was far from sufficient. Saint Felicitas, pray for us.
Praise be to God in all things. The gospel today comes to us from Luke 21, verses 12 through 19. Jesus said to the crowd, "They will seize and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and to prisons, and they will have you led before kings and governors because of my name. It will lead to your giving testimony. Remember, you are not to prepare your defense beforehand, for I myself shall give you a wisdom in speaking that all your adversaries will be powerless to resist or refute. You will even be handed over by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be destroyed, because by your perseverance you will secure your lives." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The Ignatius Catholic Commentary today says, disciples must fearlessly identify with Jesus, despite opposition. Persecution will provide opportunities to proclaim the gospel. Jesus demands heroic allegiance that may drive a wedge between family members. Whether martyred or persecuted, the faithful will gain their lives by laying them down for Christ. Close quote. I like that. Disciples must fearlessly identify with Jesus. Is that something that identifies your life? Do you fearlessly identify with the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Maybe we should contemplate that today. The Obligate would say, for because they were foolish and inexperienced, the Lord tells them this, that they might not be confounded when about to give an account to the wise. And he adds the cause. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay or resist. As if he said, ye shall forthwith receive of me eloquence and wisdom, so that all your adversaries, were they gathered together in one, shall not be able to resist you, neither in wisdom, that is, the power of the understanding, nor in eloquence, that is, excellence of speech. For many men have often wisdom in their mind, but being easily provoked, to their great disturbance, mar the whole when their time of speaking comes. But not such were the apostles, for in both these gifts they were highly favored. Close quote, the Obligate. St. Gregory the Great would say, quote, but because of the hard things foretold concerning the affliction of death, there immediately follows a consolation concerning the joy of the resurrection, when it is said, but there shall not be a hair of your head that will perish, as though he said to the martyrs, why fear ye the perishing of that which, when cut, pains, when that cannot perish in you, which when cut gives no pain? Close quote, St. Gregory. What does he mean? Well, it kind of reminds me of Matthew chapter 10. Fear not the one who can kill the body, but rather fear the one who can take body and soul and cast it into hell. I think that's what St. Gregory's getting at here. Do you fearlessly identify with the Lord? Have you made your decision to stand with the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, even if your own family member should betray you? Are you prepared to give an account for the hope that lies within? Even if it should cost you your life? We should meditate on these things today, because if we are not prepared to make that decision, Are we prepared to enter heaven at all? We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Atheists claim they don't need God to be a good person, implying God's not relevant to morality. But is this true? Well, atheists can be good in the sense of knowing behaviors that respect the goods of human nature and living accordingly. St. Paul acknowledges this natural moral law in Romans chapter 2. But this doesn't mean God is irrelevant when it comes to morality. And here's the reason. Besides God's grace being necessary to live the moral law perfectly and merit heaven, God is necessary for the law to be morally binding. How can the moral law be binding if there's no moral lawgiver behind it that surpasses human authority? The answer is, it can't. So an atheist can follow the natural moral law, but only the theist is consistent in saying that such a law is morally obligatory. I'm Carlo Broussard with the ready reason for Catholic Answers, Catholic.com.
So many of us carry such heavy burdens.
You're crazy!
Deep within, we struggle.
Come on, babe. It'll be fun.
Because sin separates us from God.
She's having a relationship with George.
But thanks to the grace of confession, God compassionately listens, forgives, and sets us free. So if it's been a while since you've been to confession or Mass, come home and experience a fresh start. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm your host, Joe McLean. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God. Coming up at 35 past the hour, Dr. Paul Kengor is back on the program to talk about his latest book that he co-authored with Dr. Mary Nichols. It's called The Devil and Bella Dodd, One Woman's Struggle Against Communism and Her Redemption. We talked to him last week. We kind of got to the crux of the matter. Did Bella Dodd actually help infiltrate the Catholic Church with communists? Well, we want to follow up on that. Let's talk about Vatican II. That's coming up at 35 past the hour. Do join us if you can. Joining us right now via Zoom chat is Kevin Wells. He has got a brand new article out called The Pope and the Synod, Hangman of the Great Commission. Good morning to you, Kevin Wells.
Hey, Joe. Great to be back with you this morning.
Yeah, praise be to God. Thanks for joining us. I enjoyed going through your article over there at crisismagazine.com. And I think you're touching on something that many Catholics are feeling today. And that something I was addressing with my commentary on the midterms. At the end of the day, no vote is going to change society and make it into the reign of Mary. Only the bishops can decide that we are going to convert every single soul for God's glory and for their own salvation. And yet it seems to me, and many Catholics are very concerned, that most bishops are sitting on the sidelines, and it doesn't seem to be a real drive to convert souls. And I think your article touches on that. What say you, Kevin Wells?
Yeah, Joe, I do think we all sense it, that we're in the midst of some kind of strange civilizational collapse. It's going all around. We could name all the ways, but we don't want to bore the listener. It's just happening. And you would think that during this time, the prophetic voice, the blazing furnace of, you just mentioned St. Gregory the Great, he did it better than anyone else, or as well as anyone else, would proclaim the fullness of the gospel. But as we collapse societally, and really as we collapse in the church, as people bleed out, we put forth such things as the synod and synodality, this listening church, this accompanying church, this church that removes barriers. And Joe, I'm just not sure that's the right way.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's not really moving the ball. And we've seen that, right? The numbers don't lie. CARA statistics held at the University of Georgetown's website. Anybody can Google them and read them for themselves. Over the past 50, 60 years, you've seen a total collapse in religious vocations, in priestly vocations, sacramental baptisms, sacramental marriages, parishes that are closing down. By the way, some dioceses just sell those buildings off and they become, tennis courts or build, a complex like condos or things like that. The numbers over and over and over paint a very bad picture in our church today. And people are leaving more than they come. So you'd think at some point we would say, this isn't working, we've got to do something different. But nonetheless, there seems to be a doubling and a tripling down here, that we just must be accompanying people in whatever sinful state they're in life without actually getting them, accompanying them to some place. That seems to be the missing element.
Yeah, I mean, why in the world would the Catholic Church, the last of the Mohicans that stands on the hill with what Jesus whispered into Peter's ear 2,000 years ago, why would we want to go down the road of liberal Protestantism? Why would we want to diminish God's revealed truth as a church? It makes no sense, but it does seem that we are going down that road. Joe, we know, we need to listen to our wives, our neighbor. We need to listen to folks and love them where they are. But I'll tell you what, Joe, my 7 siblings, we couldn't, my dad would listen to us, but he wouldn't oblige what we asked him to do to father us better. Like we'd say, I want ice cream every night. I want to stay up till 2 a.m. I want my girlfriend to come over every night. He would listen, but he'd say, nope. And I couldn't tell my high school baseball coach, hey, you manage pretty well, but I want you to manage this way. He would listen to me, but he'd say, hey, Wells, take a seat on the bench. You're done. So I don't know why this church of 2,000 years needs to listen to the most thinly catechized generations of Catholics that I argue in the history of the world. Mm-hmm. So I understand listening, but why would they want to take in what we have to really sort of offer? Because a lot of it's just not right.
Yeah. In your article, you set up this scenario where you were flying back from Mexico and you sat next to a stranger and you struck up a conversation and she was telling you all about her life and her life's choices and you listened the whole way, but then you waited and you had that moment, and the Holy Ghost is so good like this to give you these moments to try to plant a seed. And that was the scenario in which you talked about that. And then later in your article, you say, quote, because more and more the Catholic Church has encouraged annihilation of this form of proselytization. The ongoing synod of synodality seems is another cog in the wheel of the church's industrialization of the crushing of Catholic evangelization, where malformed or Christ-blind individuals are left to dangle, left to graze in a pagan world without being inconvenienced with proclamation of the blazing furnace of the gospel. I remember reading Paul VI, Evangelii Nunciandi, and he quotes, the famous quote that everybody attributes to St. Francis, preach always the gospel and sometimes use words. He even points out that Francis actually never said that. And he even points out in Evangelii Nunciandi, this is Pope Paul VI, mind you, he says, we have to use words. Like, yes, you should live your life as though you don't have to use words. Your life itself should be a witness, praise be to God, but you have to use words. He makes that explicitly clear, and yet today, we're being told that if we should dare try to plant a seed in someone's heart by using these specific words, we might be the bad guy.
Yeah, man, that's I was always suspect of that misquote of St. Francis of Assisi, because some of the greatest atheists and agnostics in the world look like they're preaching the gospel of the God they do not know. They look like Christians. So yes, you must use words. So you mentioned the young lady sitting next to me. Well, she did not know God. She did not know the truth. She shared some things. She was very successful, very wealthy, really was on the fast track. I liked her a lot, but the things she was sharing with me. So as you said, Joe, I listened as the synod leaders tell me to do, and I listened some more, and I saw someone whose soul, I'll be frank now, was not on the right track as far as eternity. So finally, I spoke after about half an hour of listening, and I shared the gospel, because what else can I do? What else would God have me do than to share with this Christ-bearing soul who he is? Yeah.
I think my own time on airplanes, I've had just a few opportunities to do something very similar to this. Most of the time, people just do their own thing. They don't put the headphones in, they take naps, they listen to content, they avoid conversation altogether. And it's fascinating when we do get into conversation how quickly it lands on something like on religion, on faith, on God. And I think it's a testament to how people are desperate for truth, if they're being honest. Maybe they don't realize it. Maybe they wouldn't characterize it that way. but in their heart of hearts, they're desperate for a light to shine into their darkness, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, Joe, you just nailed it. So often folks will sense in you sitting next to them a willingness, just by your smile, or maybe the way you got up and politely let them sit down, or you asked them how their day was going. They sense something in you that is kind of a rightness to you. So when they see that, I guess there's that pathway to sort of share with them more deeply, and there is that desire in them. I believe, I've come to believe anyway, on planes and different places, that they do want to hear what you know. There is that desperation. I don't know if I call it desperation, but there is that desire to want to hear about the God that you know.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me. I was listening to a friend of mine was telling me yesterday, and I was trying to find where he talked about it. He said he was got a new job recently, and he was saying that while they were talking, they're introducing themselves in this job, he was telling him about himself, how he liked history. He said that his fun fact was that he loved history, and afterwards his boss asked, I'm curious about your take on religion, because he also mentioned that he was very religious. So he started sharing about the Catholic faith, and he got chastised later on for bringing it up, and he said, I was just answering questions. And sure enough, they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, she asked you, then I guess you're allowed to respond. And so it's really interesting that you talk about using words and just presenting your faith as something that's integral to your life. People will ask questions. They're curious about people that are like that. Don't you think, Mr. Wells?
Yeah, and what I'll say to that, Adrian, is you brought up a great point. So if you sense the person on the plane, for instance, is a history buff, well, then you get into the church doctors. If the guy on the plane next to you is funny, you sort of get into Philip Neri or some of the funnier incidents in church history. If the guy likes sports, well, you dig in about his favorite team, but you bend it towards sort of the NFL sideline chaplain that you know. So you find the person where they are, and you sort of reclaim that lost Catholic territory that they do not know. So, you're sort of a connoisseur of their soul, connoisseur of their interest. You find your opening and you just walk in.
I think there's a danger here, or at least a difficulty, to say the least, in that for those that work in evangelization full-time, I think the Synod can send very confusing messages to the faithful, making it kind of harder to do our jobs. There also seems to be sort of I think it can be confusing to people around the world to think that the church, the members of the church, the hierarchy of the church, somehow are indicating that all religions are equal when they put out statements, confusing statements with, like, say, the Muslims, as Pope Francis has done, or in the Synod when they're talking about proselytization or accompaniment. I think they send out these confusing messages, and oftentimes we don't receive the clarity that Holy Mother Church is supposed to provide. And those of us who have to work in evangelization can have a more difficult time in doing what we feel called to do, which is the job of every Catholic on planet Earth, by the way. If you're baptized and confirmed, you're expected to be a martyr, a witness for Christ, and to identify with him fiercely, as I said in the gospel reflection today. Do you see that same level of difficulty, or do we just ignore all of this and just do what we're supposed to do?
Joe, I don't see it. It's a reality. There is no mapping of boundaries in the Synod of Synodality. I think what really at the crux of it all is that there was a wholesale, in my opinion, I think there's a wholesale rejection of what's called the sensus fide. And what's the sensus fide? It's sort of the spiritual instinct, the supernatural appreciation of the faith by the people down the millennia, down the history of the Catholic Church. It's just what the people knew was true. So that's been dismissed, it seems to me, by cardinals, bishops, Hollerich and Greisch, these synodal leaders from Europe, and even the USCCB, when they gathered all these folks throughout different dioceses to get their opinions, the sensus fide was rejected. So essentially, in that room where people shared their opinions on what the church should be according to them, there was no brakeman in the room. Like there was no theologian or holy Catholic priest saying, well, I understand why you want to take your dog to mass with you, but let's see what church doctors say on this, or let's see how we've handled this in the past. Well, that wasn't done. So there was wild stallions in these rooms that just sort of broke out with their own opinions, and that was brought to Rome.
We are out of time. Kevin Wells, check out his article at crisismagazine.com. Thank you, Kevin. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is Dale Ahlquist with a Chesterton Minute. Have you ever noticed that most people think that rules apply to others but not to themselves? They always consider themselves to be the exception. But what ends up happening is that everybody is an exception, and so the rules don't apply to anybody. The result is something worse than chaos. It's a loss of all the categories of respect and justice. G.K. Chesterton says that when the exception has become the rule, that is the worst of all possible tyrannies. When the cardinal, formerly known as Ratzinger, gave his final homily before the papal conclave, he said, "We are living under the tyranny of relativism." What is relativism? It's when there are no rules, only exceptions. The man about to become Pope was echoing Chesterton exactly. Want more than a minute? Chesterton.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're currently cruising at 39,000 feet. We'll turn that seatbelt sign off for you and let you move about the cabin. Looks like we're about 2 hours and 10 minutes from landing. Plenty of time for you to pray for vocations to the priesthood.
Wouldn't it be great if everyone prayed daily for priestly vocations? Why not start today? A friendly suggestion from Guadalupe Radio Network.
Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. And now more headlines. Reuters reports Biden administration reverses student loan promise. The White House is extending the pause on federal student loan payments to June 30th, 2023, as the Biden administration battles at the Supreme Court to put President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness policy into effect. The decision represents a reversal of Biden's vow in August to end the COVID-era student loan payment pause in December. LifeSite News reports French bishop sanctions priest for saying abortion has killed more than World War I. An elderly priest at the head of 17 small parishes in the east of France has been barred from speaking in public by his diocesan superiors for 4 weeks because he declared that the worldwide number of victims of abortion was far higher than that of the First World War. Father Francois Schneider made the controversial statement while preaching during the commemorative Mass on Armistice Day on November 11th in the tiny village of Bertrimoutier. Abortion has killed more people worldwide than the Great War, he said, adding that the French politicians would be inspired to follow the example of the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who promotes a pro-birth policy and takes courageous decisions. And the Washington Examiner reports Associated Press fires reporter over erroneous story on Russian missile attack. And those were your headline news this morning. God love you.
Praise be to God in all things, Rudy. It's easy for you to say, isn't it?
Bertrimoutier.
Oh, now
there we go.
Now you nailed it.
I spelled it out phonetically, and I still mess it up. Bertrimoutier.
It's not easy, is it?
No, it's not easy. Especially not French.
Well, praise be to God. Thanks for keeping us up to date. Hey, last week, we had a great conversation with Dr. Paul Kengor about this brand new book, The Devil and Bella Dodd, One Woman's Struggle Against Communism and Her Redemption. We really got to the heart of did Bella ever actually claim that she helped to infiltrate the Catholic Church, the communist? And if so, what did she do? And can it be proven? That was a fantastic conversation. Or we're going to link to it in the email again coming out this Friday. So make sure you're on our CDT Insider email at grnonline.com/CDT. Join today. But he joins us once again by Zoom chat to continue that conversation. Good morning to you, Dr. Kengor.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Praise be to God. I am alive, and that counts. How are you?
I'm good. Happy pre-Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Eve.
Amen. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I want to jump right in, and I want to start with this on page 284. You're quoting Sister Lucia dos Santos in 1958, who wrote to Pope Pius XII. And she said, Your Holiness is aware of the existence of the so-called secret of Fatima enclosed in a sealed envelope that can be opened after the beginning of the year 1960. Although although I cannot talk about the text contained therein because the time is approaching, I must say that in the 60s, communism will reach its high point, which can be diminished in intensity and duration, and which must be followed by the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the reign of Christ, close quote. You go on to talk about Vatican II and communism after, again, the context of Bella Dodd and the Communist Party trying to infiltrate the church. And you talk about how there was like 378 bishops before the council all wanted the council to deal forthrightly with communism, and yet Vatican II didn't address communism. Tell us what's going on here in context of your book.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest failures of Vatican II. And really, when you look at it, the full sweep of it, so you had Pope John the 23rd first, right, who starts Vatican II, and then he died into it, and then came Pope Paul VI, right, from 1963 to 1978, and Paul VI, who was a saint, the Pope of Humanae Vitae, and just a great pope in so many ways. But when it came to communism, he pursued what was known as Ostpolitik in Europe, or détente in the United States, and it was this policy of learning to get along with the communists, learning to get along with the Soviet Union. And that was pursued bipartisan in the United States by Republican presidents Richard Nixon, who was considered a hawk in foreign policy, Gerald Ford, his successor, Jimmy Carter, the Democrat. And they all believed that the best way to manage the Cold War was treaties and trade, right? Mm-hmm. We've got to find a way to reduce the likelihood of a confrontation, of a nuclear exchange. So their view was we need to accept that Eastern Europe is behind the Iron Curtain. It's in the Soviet so-called sphere of influence. Let's not rock the boat. Let's not have World War III. Now, that's replaced by this Polish Pope, right, John Paul II, who comes in 1978, Ronald Reagan in the United States, people like Margaret Thatcher, others. And Reagan said, look, détente is immoral because it sells out the people of Eastern Europe. It is not a moral policy to tell the people of Poland, of Hungary, of Czechoslovakia, of East Germany, that everything is okay for them if we make a deal with their slave masters and keep them in this permanent status quo where they have no religious freedom, no freedom of speech, no right to vote behind the Iron Curtain. So Reagan said, and he and John Paul II agreed on this, that the best approach was to reverse communism in Eastern Europe to try to peacefully win the Cold War. So to go back to Vatican II, that was not how Vatican II looked at it. And a lot of the bishops at the time were really bothered by this. They wanted the church to do what it had been doing since Qui Pluribus was published by Pope Pius IX in 1846, 2 years before the Communist Manifesto was even published. They wanted the church to strongly condemn communism. But certain forces intervened at Vatican II, and the best that they could do, Joe, was come up with some footnotes. Footnotes to the documents. So there's these unpublished edicts against communism from Vatican II, and it just utterly failed to condemn what the church in 1937 called the satanic scourge of communism. It was a real failure in that regard.
Yeah, a lot of Catholics are now having great difficulty with Vatican II as a result to this and other issues that came out of the council. And as I mentioned in the last segment, we have 60 years of terrible numbers in the church. And people feel like they're tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists, but at the same time, the numbers don't lie. The church has suffered so much since the council. And
when you look at things like liberation theology, what's happened with the Jesuits? I mean, there are many really good Jesuits, but I mean, look at the flagship publication of American Jesuits is called America Magazine, and in July 2019, they published a piece called "The Catholic Case for Communism." Yeah. I mean, you would have never seen that pre-Vatican II under any of the popes. Mm-hmm. That's an astonishing thing to see.
Speaking of liberation theology, I have the book in my hand, Liberation Theology, How Marxism Infiltrated the Catholic Church, by Mr. Julio Laredo, who
I have that.
We had him on not too long ago when the book came out. We had him in the studio. And when I was thinking about this, in your book, you talk about how they were primarily infiltrating the Dominicans in 1936. And I thought that was really interesting because I remember reading in this book how the Dominicans in South America were huge and pushing for liberation theology. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really fascinating. And this was prior to the Second Vatican Council, which was resulted in Professor Plinio writing his In Defense of Catholic Action, with the basic Christian communities popping up in South America and in the U.S., which are these kind of communist homes, so to speak. Could you speak a little bit about that situation?
Yeah, I was really surprised about that as well, because today the Dominican order in the United States, I mean, they are just a rock, right? I mean, they're fantastic. The Dominican House of Studies in Washington, D.C. But back in those days, they were looking to penetrate these orders and different committees and groups anywhere that they possibly could. There's a group called the Catholic Committee for Human Rights. That came up under literal congressional hearings as a possible communist front group. And some of the people that we quote in The Devil and Bella Dodd that will surprise people, Dorothy Day's Catholic Worker made a beautiful stand against communism on the front page. We quoted at length in the 1930s, 34, 35. They were rejecting what was the so-called outstretched hand of Earl Browder, the head of Communist Party USA, who was trying to make common ground with the Catholic Church. And Dorothy Day's Daily Worker came forward and said, look, we may agree with you on things like helping the poor, better working conditions, maybe redistributing some wealth, but you folks have a strictly materialistic view of the world. You deny the existence of God. You do not believe in the supernatural, right? Our church has said that communism is an evil, right? No, we cannot agree with communists. So they were really good at making these distinctions, by the way, in a way that progressive and liberal Catholics today are not. And there have been progressives and liberals in the past, even people like Woodrow Wilson, right? The progressive who were telling fellow progressives in the 1910s, look, we might agree with the communists again on some of these things, but these people are barbarians. They are terrorists. These people are bad news. You don't go that far to the left. Mm-hmm. So they were able to better draw these nuances and lines of distinction in ways that people today in the church who are not informed on these issues are not able to do. And by the way, I blame a lot of this, not just on schools, but on Catholic colleges that are not faithfully Catholic anymore and have completely failed to teach these things.
Amen. Hold that thought. Dr. Paul Kengor is our guest again. The book is The Devil and Bella Dodd, One Woman's Struggle Against Communism and Her Redemption, published by tanbooks.com. Great book. I mean, just really, really good book. I've enjoyed reading this book, and we're going to continue the conversation. How did Bella meet Fulton Sheen? And why did Fulton Sheen prevent her from naming names? All that and more coming up next.
I've been listening to Guadalupe Radio for a couple years now, and I think it was a bumper sticker I saw in somebody's car one time, and it's a radio station that I don't have to be concerned about or worried about. When the kids and I are driving, I don't have to worry about inappropriate items. It's just the opposite. It's educational. I've learned so many different topics and on different subjects that I couldn't believe being a Catholic and being baptized as a child. There's so many things I didn't know, and now in these past couple years that I've been listening in, I've learned so much.
Hello, this is Steve Gleason with your 1-minute tool for Catholic evangelism. Here's the question for your non-Catholic friend. If Jesus brought 2 of the greatest Old Testament saints to meet with 3 of the greatest New Testament saints at the Mount of Transfiguration, can you say with any assurance that they were not alive, aware, and able to communicate? So here's your 3 best friendship tools for Catholic evangelism. Number 1, the Bible. Luke 9 says, quote, 2 men, Moses and Elijah, appeared in glorious splendor talking with Jesus. Did you catch that? They were talking with Jesus. That means they have cognitive capability. Secondly, heavenly friends. Those in heaven long for your prayer requests. Their intercession far exceeds your best friend's prayers here on earth. Sorry to say that. And thirdly, a pesky comeback. Well, Oral Roberts University has the prayer tower. TBN has a prayer department. Your home church probably has a prayer hotline. Well, guess what? Heaven has on-demand, pure, unselfish prayer warriors known as the Great Cloud of Witnesses. They're waiting on you.
Be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you. Hey, David L. Gray is going to be our guest at the top of the next hour. We're going to be talking about why the FDA should limit access, I would say not provide at all, abortifacients to women. And we're going to have that conversation with David L. Gray. Join us if you can. Dr. Paul Kengor is our guest, co-author of this book, The Devil and Bella Dodd, One Woman's Struggle Against Communism and Her Redemption. Tanbooks.com is where I would tell you to go get it. Very, very good stuff. Bishop Fulton Sheen noted, quote, that the infiltration of seminaries began in 1936. At that time, the average age of man entering the seminary was between 18 or 20 years old, with priestly ordinations around 23 to 27 years old. Thus, people who had entered the seminary in 1936 would have been ordained in 41, 43. That would make them approximately 45 to 60 years old at the time of the council. That comes to us on page 291. Now, I start there again to go, golly gee whiz, the fruit of the communist effort to infiltrate the church, Bella Dodd's and her colleagues, I mean, it was ripe for the picking at one of the most pivotal times in church history when this council comes together, and as we were talking about in the last segment. But now I want to switch back to Bella Dodd. She gets out. She wants out. She kind of has an awakening. You have a great chapter on that where she starts to lose faith in the communist way of life, in their philosophy. She realizes it's an abusive system, and she wants out. But that's not easy. It's kind of like the mob. When you're in, you kind of don't get out. Can you speak to that, Dr. Kengor?
Yeah, well, it's exactly right. And in fact, she described it as even worse than that. She described it as extricating herself from the devil, right, from the evil of communism. So she eventually, Joe, came to agree with her church that communism was satanic, and I mean that bad, that not just a bad thing, but right from the pit of hell, and she started trying to pull away. She had this moment in 1951 where she went to visit her congressman in D.C. because she's an attorney and she's trying to make money. She's been so smeared by the party, which called her a racist, an anti-Semite, anti-Negro, anti-Puerto Rican. Those were the words they used in their press release. They would have called her a homophobe, I'm sure, or anti-trans, if those words were around back then. But she meets with Congressman McGrath. And he said, isn't there something I can do for you, Bella? I can tell that you're hurting. And she said, no, I've got the KGB following me and the FBI following me. And he said, how about seeing a priest? And she said, from her inner part, she said, yes, I want to see a priest. So he went to his secretary, Rose, and said, see if you can find Monsignor Sheen from Catholic University.
Wow.
If you can get him on the phone. So they called over, and he said, yes, send her over to my house in Chevy Chase, Maryland. I'll see her tonight. So she walked in, and she said it was amazing. He came out just like he did on the television screen, right? His silver cross gleaming, this warm smile in his eyes, this pectoral cross. And he held out his hand, and he said, doctor, he called her doctor. He said, I'm glad you've come. And she said, Joe, that had he been like the Bolsheviks and the Communist Party USA members in the way that they treated her, he might have said, you old Bolshevik bag, what are you doing in here? Yeah. But instead, he was all mercy, all kindness. He said, I'm glad you came. You look unhappy. And she said, well, why would you say that? And he said, well, in some way, we priests are like doctors. And we can diagnose a patient, just by looking at him. She began to cry. She began to weep. And he put his hand on her shoulder and said, there, just let it go. And she just started weeping. And she said she don't know how it happened, but a few minutes later, without even realizing it, the next thing she knows, they're both on their knees together before a statue of the Blessed Mother in the chapel. And he gave her a rosary. He talked to her more. He said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be going back to New York to his offices for the Society for the Propagation of the Faith in the winter. And why don't you come and talk to me and take instruction to come back into the Catholic Church of your youth? And she did. She did, and she was baptized at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York on April 7th, 1952.
That's incredible. There's so much to say about Fulton Sheen. He's just all class, and golly, I just wish there was more priests today that would emulate his style. His real love for souls. And there's a lot to say also about their relationship. Fulton Sheen, if I'm not mistaken, he goes on to become her spiritual director. So there's some nuance there. There's obviously some things that are private that will never come out. But I'm wondering, we had a conversation here in the studio after we interviewed you last week. Why was it that Fulton Sheen prevented her from naming these names, these communists? Because this is obviously it's affecting the whole church, the entirety of the church. Why not allow her to say the names?
Yeah, it's a good question, Rudy. And if you really think about it, the idea, people might say today, well, Sheen didn't want to cause scandal, right? Yeah. And people might say, well, was it really that scandalous? Oh, yeah. I mean, today you might have publications, Jesuit publications, writing articles like The Catholic Case for Communism. But in the 1930s, 1937, the year after Bella started this, in 1936, the church releases an encyclical called Divini Redemptoris, describing communism as a satanic scourge, right out of the pit of hell. The Pope Pius XII issues a papal decree on communism, telling any Italians that if they vote for the Communist Party, they're excommunicated, telling Catholic publications that if they print anything positive about communism, they're excommunicated. Jesuit America magazine would have been excommunicated 60 years ago for that piece. So the idea to find out from a woman who was one of the highest ranking members of the Communist Party, and definitely maybe the highest ranking among women in the party, that the church had been infiltrated with the planning of communists as priests in seminaries would have been really scandalous. So he said to her, and she said, Rudy, I'm going to go into the most penitential order on the planet, Bishop Sheen, to make reparation for the rest of my life for what I've done. And he said, no. Here's what I want you to do. And it was what Pius XI told him. I want you to spend the rest of your life warning people about the dangers of communism. That's how you can make reparation. And yet, 3 weeks after that, after he brought her into the church, April 7th, 1952, an article appeared on the front page of the New York Times saying Fulton Sheen in church, St. Susanna Church in Rome, warns of a red infiltration in the priesthood. So Sheen himself kind of couldn't help, but at least on one occasion, when he got there in Rome, maybe not knowing reporters were there, said that. But he never said it again, as far as I can tell. He never said it again. He knew how scandalous that this would be.
I'm thinking of, when you're saying this, the book Goodbye Good Men that came out in 2002 by Michael Rose, and how they talks about the fact that good men were kicked out of the seminary and bad men were pushed through the seminary. And it blew my mind reading this way back when, because I believe this came out in 2002. And this it sounds like you said, so Fulton Sheen does this. However, in retrospect and looking back, hindsight's 2020, would it have been better if we had just revealed it all and Fulton Sheen not have it kind of hush-hush and kind of fight it from the inside and maybe shine some light on it?
Yeah, maybe so, Adrian. Although you look, we did win the Cold War ultimately, but now it's back again. And I've had priests tell me about being in a seminary and having an older priest or professor there saying things like, well, that kind of sounds like strident McCarthyism, right? Anti-communism, right? Criticizing them for being too anti-communist. And imagine that. Imagine the response should have been, wait a second, sir. sir, Monsignor, or whoever, our church described communism as a satanic scourge.
Right, yeah.
We ought to be criticizing this. Amen. But if that spirit of Vatican II is correct, they didn't want any condemnation of communism, or at least the people that were coming out of that milieu that Dodd was part of. So that could be part of a larger, if not infiltration, maybe kind of infestation of the church.
Yeah.
And again, look at Marxist liberation theology, which prompted John Paul II when he got to Nicaragua to, say to that bishop, shook his finger at him, right? You cannot support this stuff. Even Pope Francis said in 2013, the Marxist ideology is wrong. And then he said, but I have many friends who are Marxists.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the whole problem. The church said it's wrong.
Confusing.
So being a loyal pope there, he's saying, yeah, it's wrong. But then again, I got a lot of good friends who are Marxists. And you wonder, who are some of those good friends who are Marxists? Were some of them priests in Argentina? That's a problem, man.
Exactly. And then, of course, post-World War II, you had the flight of high-ranking Nazis into Argentina and other parts of Latin America. So how much did they fan the flame of socialism and Marxism in Latin America that only made it even that much more worse? So you've got the out-and-out Soviet communists working through the Comintern, and then you've got socialists, national socialists and fascists who are all competing for their version of Marxism. It's an internal civil war, but it's the same spectrum. And on the same
and that's what Nazism was.
Exactly.
Right, Joe? I mean,
exactly.
Nazi, it was the German National Socialist Workers' Party, right? And but so Sheen told her this could cause a major scandal. And I got to share this quickly. I think this is a really touching story. Dodd was not in good health, and she ends up going in for gallbladder surgery, fairly routine at St. Vincent Hospital in New York in 1969, and she went into a coma. Her friends were shocked, and she's dying, and they're looking for a priest. Can we get a priest in here? Bishop Sheen just happens to show up to visit her at the hospital, and she's in a coma for days. And she opens her eyes one time and looks up, and he's standing there.
Wow.
And he looks at her, makes the sign of the cross. They could tell in her eyes she recognized him. He gives her the anointing of the sick and then sends her off into the next world. And so just imagine kind of the heroic role that somebody like a Fulton Sheen played in the life of Dodd. And man, she made good on that promise to him in 1952 through 1969 to warn the world and the country about communism and communist influence. And really, she's still warning us today.
Wow. Well, we are out of time, and that is exactly how I wanted you to end it. What a great story that is. All in this book, The Devil and Dodd. Over 1,000 footnoted references. It's really a great book if you're looking for a confirmation. Where are the receipts on Dodd? They're right here. Go to 10books.com. The Devil and Dodd, Dr. Paul Kengor. God bless you. God love you. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Same to you, Joe. Thanks, guys. God bless.
David O'Gray's coming up next hour. Join us. Go to grnonline.com/CDT. We'll see you back.
Catholic radio was there for me when I needed it. Even though I didn't think I needed it, it was there for me. I want everybody to know that I'm giving, not so that I can sit there and say that I gave to GRN for any other reason but this. I want that radio station to be there for anyone else who needs it also. They may not think they need it, but it's going to be there for them, whether it's in the future, whether it's right now. I want that radio station to always be there for them, just like it was there for me.
The Guadalupe Radio Network. Radio for your soul.
This is a Messy Family Minute with Mike and Alicia Hernon. Sometimes it can seem that our family life is humdrum, monotonous, and insignificant. But Christ began his public ministry at the wedding at Cana. When we read this account in the gospel, we're reminded that our marriage, our ordinary family life, is important to God.
Our Lord and Our Lady love our families, and they are present with us. They desire to change what is ordinary into the extraordinary. The Lord can take our simple and everyday tasks and make them holy.
Like the servants at the wedding at Cana, we need to notice when we run out of wine, when we run out of joy, when we run out of love. It is then that we turn to Our Lady and ask for her help. She can bring Christ into our lives, our ordinary water, and transform it into wine.
And when we invite Christ into our lives to transform us, He creates the best wine of all. For more advice, ideas, and encouragement, visit us at messyfamilyproject.org.
Hey, Donnie, who was the first pope to whom Jesus said, "You are the rock upon which I will build my church"?
St. Peter.
And who is the current pope?
Pope Francis.
As parents, we're the primary educators of our Catholic faith to our children. And if you don't know your Catholic faith as well as you should, that's okay. Just tune in daily to the Guadalupe Radio Network by logging online to grnonline.com. The Guadalupe Radio Network. Listen, learn, love, and pass it on.
Are you on the CDT Insider email list? Hi, Joe McClain here. And every week I send you cool stuff straight to your inbox, goodies that you're not going to want to miss. Go to grnonline.com/CDT and get signed up today. Jesus Christ, welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God. Good morning. One more day, and you get to enjoy the buffet of Thanksgiving. Grazing all day. Now our
mashed potatoes.
Are you guys a like lunchtime
rolls?
Do you like get the turkey out for lunch, or do you like go between lunch and dinner-ish? Like a lupper.
You mean like when is the Thanksgiving
like event? Do you do like a lupper, like a sunch, like between lunch and dinner, lunch and supper, or do you bless the turkey, say your grace at lunchtime, or do you wait for like 3 o'clock?
It depends on who you ask, right? Like Southerners, as we discovered last week, will say that lunch is actually later in the day.
Is it?
And then they say supper is actually dinner.
See, our family has a tradition.
That didn't answer my question.
Our family has a tradition, Joe.
When do you?
We always, without fail, eat the food when it's ready.
Really?
Yep.
So no matter the time. So you're not beholden to a time of tradition.
No, well, that is our tradition.
It's 10 o'clock. Food's ready.
Yep.
Let's do this because your mom's going to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Never ready
just to
at
get
10
the turkey up and into the oven.
Usually, it's that's the thing. It's different every single year. Sometimes
so it's like Spain for you guys.
Sometimes it's lunch. Sometimes it's in the middle, like between lunch and dinner. Sometimes it's dinner.
Now my wife gets up early. She gets up crack of dawn to get the turkey in the oven.
My parents have been started getting cooking and stuff yesterday.
Really?
See, if you're smart,
my family, but I mean the turkey doesn't go into the oven until tomorrow.
Dude, you have to cook the turkey. Everybody knows you cook the turkey. You put it in the oven on Monday at only 90 degrees. And you let it cook Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's ready. Halfway to Thursday.
I'm about to revolutionize everybody's Thanksgiving dinner. Okay?
Really?
Listen.
You're gonna say turkey fryer?
You can thank me later. No, don't fry the turkey. That's nasty.
All right, what is it?
You spatchcock the bird.
You do what?
You spatchcock it. You cut the rib cage.
Okay.
And you squash it and flatten it out. And that reduces your cooking time significantly.
No,
also,
but it doesn't look like a turkey.
Well, yeah, there's that. But here's the other thing I'll say. Brine the bird. Everybody's like, oh, turkey's so dry. I hate turkey. It's because you never brine it. If you brine it and you put these wonderful spices and oranges and stuff in there, it's going to taste amazing. You brine it, spatchcock it, it's going to change your life.
You have to like brutalize a dang turkey for it to taste good.
We do intend to eat it.
They're like you got to crush it, marinate it, soak it.
I
then
typically,
it might taste decent.
When my wife gets up out of bed, middle of the night to get the turkey, and my only thought is, honey, can you be a little quieter? I'm trying to sleep here.
She's like banging pots.
and also, can we have the turkey ready for like a brunch time?
Here's a Thanksgiving tradition that y'all can start trying. Get up early and go to Mass and give Thanksgiving to God.
What?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Offer the Holy Mass, not for any penitential questions, any questions, any contritions, but instead just give thanks to God. Offer the
now,
you can do that.
All right. Truth in advertising here. So I actually have made a critical decision about tomorrow's meal plan.
Okay. Just for your family.
For me personally.
For the whole world.
You're going to have gravy.
You're going to have gravy. I knew it. The carnivore diet now for going on 4 months. I have lost a lot of weight. True. It's true. Praise be to God. Like almost 60 pounds. God is good. However, tomorrow I may be changing the menu up for tomorrow. Is that okay? I'm going to share exactly what my thinking is, my plan is, what I will probably eat in the after show with you. So join us in the after show, which you can find linked up on all of our live video feeds. So, June, Ybarra, Michelle, and good morning to everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us today. And Sonia, I agree with you. San Antonio is the greatest city in the world. Some would say in spite of, but I would say in addition to the fact that I'm from there, there are other reasons why it's also the greatest city in the world.
It's despite the fact. It's the greatest city in the world now that Joe is gone.
But nonetheless,
now that Joe's in Houston.
Nonetheless, I'm going to be chatting with all of you in the after show. We'd love to get your thoughts on Thanksgiving, and you can comment directly on one of the live video feeds. Go to grnonline.com/CDT to join the conversation, and I will share with you if and when and what I shall do to break the carnivore thing. All that coming up in the after show. Joining us right now via Zoom chat is our good friend David Elgray, all the way from Germany. Praise be to God. Good morning to you, or in your case, good afternoon to you, David Elgray.
Yeah, good day, gentlemen. How's it going?
Are you allowed to celebrate Thanksgiving over there? You're on a military base. I'm sure everybody's doing that on base, but are you going to feel slightly guilty for celebrating a holiday that no one else is celebrating? How does that work?
And it's going to be even worse because we're going to be in London. So,
you're not even in Germany. Can you even get a turkey in London? Is that a thing there, or you get goose?
Catholics allowed in London?
Yeah, they have like a history of like anti-Thanksgiving like thing.
Right.
Yeah. So it's gonna be I guess we're gonna go see Les Mis or Hamilton, one of those plays we're gonna go see.
Oh, really?
Hang out, see what happens. Yeah.
Thanksgiving, celebrate the French Revolution. I like it.
Well, interesting angle. Praise be to God. Do you have any favorite turkey traditions, real quick? Anything that you have done traditionally as a family on Thanksgiving Day?
Definitely deep fry. This would be the first year we haven't really deep fried a turkey. So inject it, brine it, as Rodolfo said, and dip it in there and see what happens. Just don't do it inside your house.
Bad things can happen, huh? Well, it ought to be very good. But you agree, though, that do we give ourselves a pass for gluttony on this occasion every year? Or so
I'm so proud of you, man. 60 pounds is like 40 off of 100, man. That's like that's a major accomplishment. Yeah. So I think you deserve to just let it go. Take off your belt.
I've earned it, huh?
Take off your belt, put on some sweatpants, and see what happens.
Exactly, yeah. We'll see. Friday, I'll need all those clothes I kept in the closet. I'm going to need them all back.
He lost 6 bowling balls worth of weight.
Exactly. Hey, let's turn to something a little bit more serious. Catholic News Agency has an article out that says FDA should limit access to dangerous chemical abortion drugs. Doctors are arguing in a lawsuit, and I think the lawsuit has brought to light just how dangerous this stuff really is. What do you say, David O'Gray?
Yeah, I mean, this lawsuit is filed on November 18th, is out of the North District of Texas, where it's filed out by Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine. They're going against the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and they're arguing that the USDA, they fast-tracked these two abortion pills, these two drugs that we abortion pill is two drugs, is progesterone and misprogesterone.
Easy for you to say. Easy for you to say.
Oh yeah, and so one of them, what it does is that
one of them blocks progesterone, which basically keeps the baby alive, and the other one wants to eject the baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, starve it, then push it out. That's what it does. It creates a false contractions and pregnancies after the child has been starved to death. And so what they're saying, they fast-track these drugs. And the way they fast-track them was by saying that abortion is some type of illness and that there's some benefit towards creating this death and starvation and evacuating the child because of the illness. So it's a shocking lawsuit. It's revealing all types of information that we hadn't really considered. And they're saying that the reason why it's fast-tracked also is because not only was it medically expedient, but that there was some sort of politics involved in their decision, which, that doesn't surprise us. So, yeah, we don't know where the lawsuit is going to go. The FDA, they're definitely going to fight it. The Biden administration is going to put all their weight behind fighting this lawsuit, but we'll see where this goes.
What's interesting, I think, about this story is I think it gives us an opportunity to really highlight that Planned Parenthood's not dumb. They see that they have lost quite a bit of ground in the war on abortion, as obviously the Dobbs case has been a huge victory for the pro-life cause. But they've shifted, and they shifted years ago, actually. They're trying to move away from abortions at a clinic, one of their clinics, to sending pills out, sending these abortion drugs out to women, specifically young women. And they've been in these schools now for many years trying to educate young people and corrupt their minds into thinking that abortion is somehow okay, but even normal and good for their life and for their future. And how many women are going to be significantly harmed, not just emotionally, spiritually, but physically as well, as a result of taking these pills? And it just boggles the mind that so many people will just take these pills and not even question. Maybe this lawsuit will help to educate.
Yeah, and the lawsuit is saying that, Joe, that they're saying that the FDA has not been testing the long-term effects of these two pills, what effect it's having on the bodies of the women who take them. So that's another facet as well. And yes, Planned Parenthood, they've been shifting and dodging and just keeping their foot in just eugenics, but also the medical industry, the farms, the pharmaceuticals, they're involved in this now. We know they were involved in the whole fentanyl thing. They're paying a price for that, but they have their hand in this, making money on this side of the child murder industry. And so here, I don't know how often this happens. I guess it's different in every state, but here, at least when I go to the base exchange, you just walk down just a typical aisle right next to the Skittles and the Wham Whams and Zoom Zooms. You have this abortion pill that you just take off the shelf. I mean, it's right there next to the condoms and all that. I think I said Skittles and Wham Whams, but next to the condoms.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's disgusting.
That's really wild, David. One of the things that was really surprising for us is we did an interview, I want to say like maybe two or 3 months ago, with this woman who also talked about the effects of the abortion pills that they're having on the water supply, because the women are taking the pill, they're taking the pill, and I'm not going to go into the details, but it ends up in our water supply, the body of the children
and the drugs.
Have you heard about any of this?
Yeah, I've read some. I don't know how. It's hard to find scientific studies like this because this
no one's talking about it.
It can get. I mean, there's consequences to this whole thing, saying that the abortifacients are in the water that we drink. Mm-hmm. But there's been some reports out saying that this is potentially the cause of a lot of the things that we're seeing in society today, as far as cancers and even psychological issues with people thinking they're one gender and they're not. The whole homosexuality rage. I mean, it's but you have to wonder, drugs are in our water, and what effect does that have?
Yeah, for sure. Part of the article says here, the plaintiffs also pointed out to the fact that the FDA has progressively rolled back safeguards on the abortion pill. For example, the FDA in 2016 extended the permissible gestational age of the baby to be killed in the abortion from 7 to 10 weeks, increasing as studies have demonstrated the risk of complications for the mother. And again, I just think, college whiz, these are supposed to be well-educated people, smart people, and yet they seem to be downplaying these risks involved. And is this all in the name of making money? I mean, just follow the money, right? This pharmaceutical industry is $1 billion plus business. And do they care at all about the deep and lasting impact on the lives of these women that they're pushing these drugs on?
Yeah, at first, when these pills were something that you could just get prescribed, that was one thing, of course. But by the fact that now they're in the drugstores, you can get them without a prescription. This is a industry that the pharmaceuticals, it's just all eugenics with a profit. That's all it is. That's the difference between Margaret Sanger and what's going on now. It's eugenics with a profit.
Well, I encourage everybody to check out this article. It's linked up at CatholicNewsAgency.com. The FDA should limit access to dangerous chemical abortion drugs, doctors argue in lawsuit. I would also leave it with this, as well as we're running out of time with David O'Gray. Parents, pay attention. Planned Parenthood's plan is to be able to text directly with your child so that they could ask over text message to get some of these drugs mailed to any address they provide. So you want to be careful. If you're in a state where this has not been completely blocked, some states have, some states haven't, really pay attention to this, because this could be a very serious thing in the life of your teenager in these days. David O'Gray, God bless you, my friend. Enjoy whatever it is you're going to do in London. I don't know what people do in London these days, but as a jet setter,
survive.
As the great man of mystery, are you auditioning for the new James Bond role? What?
Oh, my goodness. How did you know?
You heard it here first, people.
Oh,
David O'Gray as Bond. James Bond.
I would watch that.
007. Look at that look. I see you, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving to you, David. Have a great day. We'll see you next week. Hey, coming up after this quick break, it's time to play our game show, Fear and Trembling. And today's the day we give out prizes you could win. We're going to draw a name today, 877-757-9424. 877-757-9424. Be right back.
Why do Catholics call Mary the Queen of Heaven? Doesn't God rebuke the Israelites in the Old Testament for worshiping a false goddess called the Queen of Heaven? Should we not refer to Mary with that title, therefore, since it's a title of a false god?
In Jeremiah 7, verse 18, God is indeed upset with the Israelites for worshiping a false goddess called the Queen of Heaven. However, just because God rebuked them for worshiping the false Queen of Heaven doesn't mean that we cannot pay honor to the true Queen of Heaven, the Blessed Mother. That type of thinking would lead you to believe that just because people worship a false god that they call God, we therefore should not call the true God by that same name, God, because that's the same name the idolaters use for their God. That is faulty logic, and it makes no sense whatsoever. Again, the fact that there is a false Queen of Heaven does not lead to the conclusion that we worship a false goddess when we call Mary the Queen of Heaven. Just as the fact that there is a false god does not lead to the conclusion that we worship a false god when we call our Father in heaven God. And there is a true Queen of Heaven. We see this quite clearly in Revelation 12, verse 1. And a great portent appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Let's see. There's a woman. She's in heaven, and she has a crown on her head. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the cleaning lady. No, it's the true Queen of Heaven, Mary, the mother of the male child who is to rule the nations. We do not worship Mary, we honor her just as Jesus honors her. So there is absolutely nothing wrong from a scriptural point of view in calling Mary the Queen of Heaven and in honoring her just as Jesus honors her. After all, if Jesus is the King, then Mary is truly the Queen Mother of Heaven.
A beacon of truth in a troubled world. This is the Guadalupe Radio Network, radio for your soul.
Welcome to another round of Fear and Trembling.
the Catholic trivia game show that helps you work out your salvation by the seat of your pants. It's a 50-50 chance and prizes are involved. Avoid the weeping and gnashing of teeth. Call now to take your shot. 877-757-9424. And now, your host, Joe McClain.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time and Fear and Trembling, a Catholic trivia game show that has secrets and agendas. And I'm neither fearing or trembling now because today's the day we're going to give out the prizes because we're not going to be here tomorrow or Friday. We do have great content lined up for you, by the way. So you should still tune in. But we are going to be off tomorrow for the next few days. So we thought we'd give out the prize today, and we're very excited to do so. There are still, though, nonetheless, things we like to do on the down low, on the QT. Quiet like. Keep it between us, all right? So pretend as though we're like Facebook and Twitter collaborating on the back end for censorship. Don't tell anybody, all right? Number one, we like to teach the faith. We look for teachable moments in the questions where you might learn something you did not know before. Praise be to God. And then, of course, we look for, opportunities to laugh, to have a good time, to chuckle, and our callers laugh with us, and we appreciate that most, I'd say. And then, of course, we give out prizes, which is just a brilliant move on our part because it forces you to participate either in learning, laughing, or winning. Praise be to God. But the kicker is, the secret sauce in all of this is we don't ask our callers the questions. They could still get the correct answers, even though they don't know the answers, because I'm going to ask Adrian, I'm going to ask Rudy. One of them will have a correct answer. The other will be incorrect. The caller will then have 15 seconds on the clock. They got to make a decision. Whom do they trust more, Rudy or Adrian? And then once they get that right, they go into the coffee cup of divine providence to win this week's prize. Rudy, what could they win?
Praise be to God. This week, we, the Catholic Drive Time team, are sponsoring the game show. We're going to put together a wonderful prize pack that we're going to be sending out, hopefully, at the end of the week. But the winner today is going to get it. Mm-hmm. Now, we have just 3 days to play, so your chances are pretty good today.
Amazingly good.
Whoever calls in. So, praise be to God. We're putting that together, and we'll get it out to you.
Wow. Well, can I just thank Catholic Drive Time? You guys,
I just want to thank Catholic
Drive Time. You guys are just so amazing. Catholic Drive Time, giving us prizes to give away to our audience. Man. Not only are you good looking,
so cool. Go out there and support Catholic Drive Time today and our Christmas Shirtathon in 2 weeks.
All right, praise be to God. Let's go to the phones. Hey, Mr. Jude, how are you?
Oh, wonderful.
Praise be to God. Mr. Jude, it's good to hear your voice. We haven't heard you in a long time. How are you, sir?
Another day in paradise, you know?
Exactly. Although people don't often equate paradise and Houston, Texas, all in the same sentence, but nonetheless, we're glad you're on today. Now, are you an Astros fan? Are you pretty thrilled that the Astros won the World Series?
Yeah, I'm an Astro man. I like them. I appreciated their win the other time, and I celebrated that. You know.
Praise be to God. Speaking of celebrations, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Are you ready for that, Mr. Jude?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Anything special on the menu besides turkey?
Oh yeah, my daughter is going to prepare some things for brunch. You know, after church. We'll go to church with some food, you know, blessings, and when we come back, we descend on those things, you know.
Nice.
Awesome.
What time should I arrive? I'm just curious. What time should I be there for this brunch that you speak of?
Oh, yeah. You can come in.
All right. Praise be to God, Mr. Jude. I know you know the rules. We're going to get started. We have the prize to give away today, so you have a good chance at this. We're going to start with Mr. Rudy Carlos first, who is doing the Steve Jobs thing again. No tie, turtleneck.
I like total.
Okay. Mr. Rudy, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Are you sure?
I was born for this.
Steve Jobs said the same thing.
Really?
Interesting. I'm noticing a correlation.
What if I do this?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Could you tell me which saint is referred to as golden-mouthed?
Golden-mouthed. That would be King David.
Really?
King David. Yeah.
Mind blown. King David.
Yeah, he's musically, or talented,
skilled,
leaning towards,
had good aptitude.
Yeah, he was good.
Got it. Okay, King David, you say. Let's see what Adrian says. Adrian, some would say that you have an expertise in mouthing things. Could you tell me which saint is referred to as golden-mouthed?
I have no idea what you mean. Though the answer to the question is Saint John Chrysostom.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He is known as the golden-mouthed or the golden-tongued.
Really? Mm-hmm. It can be used either way?
He was known as both.
Okay, Mr. Jude, you got options here. Who was the saint that was golden-mouthed? Was it St. John Chrysostom, as Adrian said, or was it King David, as Rudy suggested? 15 seconds on the clock. Who's right, who's wrong? Mr. Jude in H-Town, what say you?
Yeah, St. John Chrysostom.
Survey says.
Way to go, Mr. Jude. You know, Mr. Jude just got wiser. He just got smarter.
Really?
He got taller, stronger, younger.
Wow.
It's amazing. All these things happen when you go with Adrian.
He can run an
is glowing
8-minute mile.
All these things happen.
Now, I should point out, he never said Adrian is correct. He just said St. John Chrysostom.
Yeah, but it was implied in the
Was it implied? I don't know if it was implied.
It is.
But nonetheless, you are right, Mr. Jude. St. John Chrysostom is the correct answer. He is golden mouth or golden tongued. So you're in the cup. You could win. Let's see if we can't double your chances. This is a historical, a United States historical question.
Ooh.
We're going to go to Adrian. Adrian, can you tell me?
Yes, I can.
Who may attend movies that were classified with an A3 rating?
An A3, is that like a different kind of sauce? You have your A1 sauce. This is your A3 sauce.
It must mean it's better. I mean, more is better.
I'm gonna have the A3 sauce with my turkey tomorrow.
Please.
No, I'm just kidding. Those who have movies classified as A3, only adults can attend.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Adults only?
Only adults.
All right. Okay. Rudy, let's see what you have to say here. Could you tell me who may attend movies that were classified with an A3 rating?
Okay, the only people who could attend movies with an A3 rating were people who were born on a day with a 3 in them, because back in the day, the theaters used to be really small, and they had to to ration it out. You couldn't have 50 people showing up to a 12-seat theater.
So they had to be born on a day
exactly
with a 3 in
exactly.
Involved. So like on the 3rd or the 13th or the 23rd or the 43rd
or the 33rd.
33rd.
Wait, what?
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Jude, who may attend movies classified with the A3? This goes back to the League of Decency. It's gone now, unfortunately. But nonetheless, who can attend these movies classified with an A3? Was it adults born with a 3 in their birth date, or was it just adults, as Adrian says? 15 seconds on the clock. Who's right? Who's wrong? Mr. Jude, what say you?
The adults.
Survey said, Again, hear that?
I heard Adrian is right. That's what I heard.
He never said your name.
I heard Adrian was right. That's how I heard it.
Never mentioned it. Sorry.
I think he said Adrian is correct.
He said adults.
The dynamic equivalence translation is Adrian is correct.
He said, quote, adults.
And
Close quotes.
And if you translate that over to the Greek and into the Hebrew, and then from the Hebrew into the Latin, and the Latin into the Spanish, and then the Spanish into the English, it translates to Adrian is correct.
I don't know that that's right, but nonetheless, he is correct. Adults is the correct answer. We should make the League of Decency great again, I'd say.
I agree.
That'd be awesome. But you're in for 2, Mr. Jude. You're doing great. Third question. I'm going to be honest with Mr. Jude. This next question, easily the hardest question we've had all day. Let's take a deep breath and let's ask this question to Rudy. Rudy? What term is given to a prayer with alternate petitions or responses?
Okay, all right. With alternate petitions or responses. Okay, that is a litany.
A litany.
It's a litany.
You're just going to go with the litany.
Yeah.
Just going to go just litany. All right.
Just litany.
Let's see what Adrian says. Adrian, we're running out of time here. But what term is given to a prayer that has alternate petitions or responses?
That is called a chaplet.
A chaplet?
I guess if you want to pronounce it in the Alfaranche.
It's a chaplet. You're going to go with chaplet. All right, Mr. Jude, a little too on the nose in this last one here, but is it, as Adrian says, a chaplet, or is it, as Rudy suggests, a litany? 15 seconds on the clock. Who is right? Who is wrong? Mr. Jude in Houston, Texas, what say you, good sir?
Litany.
Survey says perfect score. Mr. Jude, you are amazing. Litany is correct.
All right, we're running out of time here. I'm going to just pick one right off the top. And Mr. Jude! What is going on? Let's go!
Mr. Jude, congratulations. Happy Thanksgiving to you, sir. Thanks for playing our game again. Good to hear your voice. I'll make sure to show up nice and early there, waiting for you to get back from church for Thanksgiving.
Stay on the line.
For the beautiful food. Stay on the line. Don't go anywhere. Hey, we're going to go into the after show, and I'm going to share with you what I will actually be eating tomorrow. Do I break my fast? What do you think? Go to grnonline.com/CDT.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.
Well, what do you guys think? Welcome to the after show. Do you think I should break my fast? I've been on this fast for 4 months now.
Once you hop off, you'll never get back on.
Is that the case? Do I give myself a pause? Do I put a pin in it? Have Thanksgiving and go on to pick it up again on Friday? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think I should break my carnivore fast? I mean, technically, I'm not a strict carnivore. I'm what Dr. Anthony Stein would call a relaxed carnivore. Kind of like Levi jeans. I'm relaxed. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I will tell you in a minute what I think I'm going to do tomorrow, but I want to know your opinion first. Let us know. Otherwise, praise be to God. Great conversations today. What do you guys think about the Bella Dodd story, by the way? If you have had the chance to check out the book, do you think, are you convinced on Bella Dodd now? It's surprisingly a big debate amongst Catholics in particular. But I got to say, over 1,000 footnoted references in this book. That makes it pretty credible. I would say pretty credible on the topic. And they avoided making speculation. They only really basically used what they could prove one way or the other. So, a great book. Highly recommend it. Let us know what your thoughts are. And then, of course, if you are in the United States and you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to you. Let us know what your traditions are. If you are not amongst the United States citizenry and are not celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow, well, happy Thursday to you.
Happy Thursday to you.
Happy Thursday to you.
I think if you are listening to the Catholic Drive Time show and you do not celebrate Thanksgiving, you should celebrate Thanksgiving anyway in solidarity with the Catholic Drive Time team.
Jay Koch says you can eat a turducken wrapped in bacon.
Dude, turducken is an abomination.
No, turducken's where it's at, bro.
It's an abomination.
Wrapped in bacon? This is like God's gift to humanity.
So gross.
That is definitely carnivore. There's no. It's a turkey with a duck in it, wrapped in bacon.
Ugh.
It's good stuff.
Ugh, I'm gonna throw up.
Don't do it. It's good stuff. Offer it up, Joe, says Paul. The next days after would be difficult. Oh, that's true. That's true.
Is it worth it, Joe?
Sharon. Hello, Sharon, by the way. Good to have you back on the chat today. Great to see you here hanging out with us. Again, it was fantastic to meet you in New Hampshire. Says, it's okay to have a cheat day. Cheat day. Break the fast, says Yvonne. Break the fast. Jay Coke says, if you break the fast, you'll be rubbing bread stuffing all over your body. I'll be rubbing bread stuffing all over the body. Now I'll be in the corner of the room.
Weeping.
Shaking uncontrollably as I'm mowing an entire loaf of bread.
Okay, but what if, Joe? Let me just be the voice of reason here.
The voice of reason.
What if you break the fast, and then you get a vicious attack of I don't know, something
of gout?
Of gout.
I know. That's the risk, isn't it?
Oh man,
See, that's the question. Am I so?
I guess it'd be a good way to test it.
Am I never allowed to go back to eating normal food?
That's what Peterson did.
Because if I go back, I'll immediately go back to inflammation and problems.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would give it the Whole30 route, where you would introduce things really slowly and see which things are triggering your
one bite
gout.
at a time. You mean?
It's been a while since I did Whole30,
all of it
but
and together, but. One bite, just have one bite at a time.
I don't have any allergies, so I don't think I actually did that process.
I'm allergic to grass.
I did Whole30.
So,
are you real?
Yeah.
I'm really allergic to grass.
I'm
what
really
happens?
allergic to grass.
Like
I break out in hives.
Wow, that sucks.
Damon, Gunslinger Z19 over at Rumble says at least it ain't a.
That's why I don't eat vegetables.
Turk racken. What's that? What's a Turk racken?
So turkey.
Turk. Is the turkey racken?
Chicken. Chicken.
What is a racken?
Ken. So chicken.
You're gonna have to explain that one, Lucy.
I want to try what Rudy was saying. Sounded disgusting. The turducken.
Yeah.
I want to try that.
You can get them in Louisiana.
That sounds delicious to me. I love duck.
Sound delicious.
I love duck, and turkey's disgusting, so it could only make it better.
I like turkey. What are you doing?
Turkey's horrible.
No, it's
amazing.
not. Turkey is so good.
Turkey is such an inferior
when it's
meat.
moist, it's fantastic.
It's not. So that's the thing, though.
It's because they don't brine it.
Because you exactly my point. You have to do like a billion things to the turkey to make it taste not bad.
Well, look, I hate to be the guy here, but I don't think you've actually had a real turkey. I mean, look at the chickens that we have today. They're like humongous. That's not what a normal chicken looks like.
Those are just shot up, hormone-induced.
See, I don't think that's a good argument.
Farms.
And the reason why is because our fake chickens taste delicious.
No, they don't.
They taste so
horrible,
good,
man.
I could go get.
Are they actually chicken? Is the question.
I could go to Kroger right now and pick up a rotisserie chicken and down that whole thing.
It's true. I've done it.
And it'd be so good.
I'm pretty sure those are brined.
However,
they're greasy as all.
The same thing with the
They
turkey.
really are. Why are they greasy?
They're so greasy.
It's not the chicken skin.
It's so greasy, though. It's
but why? I don't get it.
You got to take a bath afterwards because you're just covered in grease. It's gross.
White Wolf is back talking about chemtrails, who yesterday said were fake. Now he's saying the chemtrails are a monument to how completely the new Sodom has subverted the truth and buried under a flood of lies.
Meanwhile, Sonia says, would you discuss the book into detail right now? I have not read it and I have time to listen.
Can you just read the whole thing?
Sonia, did you not? I mean, go backwards. Just take the playhead and scrub backwards till 35 after our first hour, and you'll be able to listen to Dr. Paul Kengor, the co-author of the book, tell you directly.
True Talk says chemtrails.
Yikes.
Sonia says, I think you will get a belly ache, and if you ate everything in sight on Thanksgiving, your body might go into shock.
You're right, Sonia.
Oh, man.
So you're saying, though, there's a chance I could get away with it. That's what I heard. So,
Turk Kraken.
Sean, good morning to you.
No, Damon, I think I figured out what you're talking about. That's disgusting.
Oh,
what is it?
I'm going to throw up. I just looked it up.
It's a turkey with a freaking octopus inside.
Oh, my wife would probably eat that.
That's nasty.
That is horrible. That is, my goodness.
You guys.
That's nasty.
I just Googled it, and what a mistake.
Totally eat that,
what a mistake. Don't look that up.
Turk Kraken?
That's disgusting.
Or like Kraken. It's supposed to be like the Kraken.
Right, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, come on.
I should mention that to my spouse. She'd probably go, that sounds
That's
yummy.
nasty.
That sounds awful.
Have you ever had octopus?
Yeah, octopus is not bad.
No,
it's
dude.
too slimy, though.
Dude, octopus is literally the worst.
dude.
If you can eat an octopus and you can eat a turkey, then why can't you have an octopus and turkey at the same time?
There's so many reasons why. There's so many reasons.
I think
you can brush your teeth, right? And you can drink orange juice.
But not at the same time.
They don't go together.
Crown Royal is hanging out with us again today on Rumble. Welcome back, Crown Royal. Thanks for hanging out. By the way, if you're on Rumble and you have not yet commented, can I encourage you, please do comment for the first time?
Yeah, finally, T-Storm has, some. She's the voice of reason here. She says, y'all are nuts, octopus and calamari, all that stuff is tasty.
No, I agree.
Oh, wait.
Calamari.
Oh, never mind. Excuse me, I take that back. T-Storm, that's not a voice of reason.
No,
These things are nasty.
No,
it's not that bad.
It's delicious.
It's a little rubbery.
No, I like it.
Ugh,
I just don't think it goes with turkey.
Come on.
That's the only thing I'm saying. Like I like calamari, and octopus isn't bad. I don't love octopus. A little too chewy and slimy for me.
Tofu turkey.
But no,
what is wrong with you, Jacob?
Crown Royal says he's going to eat mashed potatoes, gravy, and some pie tomorrow. Question is, am I going to be eating mashed potatoes, gravy, and pie tomorrow?
There's no way. So much. It would be gone. It would be gone.
Yeah. Let's see. True talk. Bottom feeders, lobsters, and shrimp are like cockroaches for the ocean floor. God made them to clean the ocean floor, not to swallow in your stomach.
Just like tilapia, dude. Tilapia is disgusting.
You don't like tilapia?
Absolutely not.
What's your favorite fish?
Favorite fish, I would say it used to be salmon, but then I found something really awful about it.
Dude, should
I ruin it for everybody?
I had great salmon when I was in Florida. It was Scottish salmon. It was fantastic. But the salmon that I have here, no bueno.
All right, so the salmon I had in California was the best ever. It was made. It was farmed. It was farmed.
It's Freudian slip. It's fine.
It was farmed by Schooner Bay salmon.
Okay.
The best. Absolutely the best. However, I like to get things that are not farmed, so I usually get wild caught. And it turns out that wild caught salmon, like sockeye, those type of salmon, they are very susceptible to parasites. So, yeah, there's a bunch of parasites. I think the statistic is 60% of all the salmon have parasites in them if they're wild caught.
Isn't that just more protein, though? Isn't that just like more?
I never want to see
more flavor.
I never want to see some clear worm, like worming around in my food.
When my wife and I went to Alaska in 2002 on vacation, it was like our honeymoon. It's like the honeymoon we never had.
She cracked open the lobster and went.
She did that with a crab. Ooh, boy, she was in heaven with the crab. There was amazing though. But no, we went fishing for halibut, and I caught a monster halibut. The guy next to me caught an even monsterer halibut.
Those are the flat ones, right?
Yeah. They're like flounder. But halibut are weird because when they're born like regular fish. They swim just like every other fish, but then they decide on their own free will.
They're just gonna lay down
to lay over, and then one of their eyeballs travels through the skull and pops out the other side like a flounder.
Evolution confirmed.
Yeah, clearly. Case closed, I guess. But nonetheless, super tasty. Like it is like steak of the sea. It's so good. But the bigger the fish, and everybody wants a massive halibut. So mine was like 75 pounds or something like that.
What?
And then the guy next to me was 125 pounds.
Wow.
And those were not even close to being the biggest halibut.
No.
The record is almost like 500 pounds or something.
How?
And what
kind of pound test you got on there?
With mine, they have to kill the fish before they even bring it on the boat.
Wow.
And
why?
Because it's so big that if they let it flop around, it may throw somebody overboard. It'll destroy whatever the fish is in your hold. So they dispatch it, then they haul it into the boat. You take the picture, and then they put it in the hold.
Take the picture, it's bleeding everywhere.
The bigger the fish, the more worms it has.
That's disgusting, man.
So when you're cleaning it, you got to pick out the worm.
Yeah.
That's called life, bro. That's the way it goes.
Dude, I don't know.
Just like when you go hog hunting, it's nice to kill a massive monster hog that started in Jurassic Park, but you can't eat that stuff. It's so gross. You want them smaller.
You know what? The other day, I was moving some stuff from my apartment to our new house, and there was a weird, it was like, I don't know, maybe like 7 p.m. It's already getting really dark. And I saw these little weird figures out in the forest because they took the scenic route.
Oh, I see.
I see these weird little figures out there, and I'm like, is that a group of deer? And I look closer, and they're low to the ground. I'm like, wow, that's weird. They wouldn't be like, they would be grazing right now.
Yeah.
They wouldn't just be hanging out in the dark.
Yeah.
I look closer. And closer.
Through your scope?
And closer. And I realize it's a bunch of hogs.
And you were like, where's my gun?
And I was like, oh, I got to tell Joe right now.
Are you allowed to help exterminate the hogs that are destroying your neighborhood?
Well, they're an invasive species.
Yes, they are.
I was thinking maybe if I came back and I shot them, would anybody really care?
Yes. Honestly. You're not allowed.
That's
too bad, though. There was big problems in some of these suburban neighborhoods around here with these invasive hogs. And unfortunately, only the state could hire contractors to come in and dispatch them. They wouldn't let the neighbors do it.
Yeah, because somebody would like shoot into the wrong direction. Well, this is right off the highway, by the way.
But hunters are more responsible than that most of the time.
Yeah, that's
so. What if you said you put out, hey, listen, we have a hog problem. We need some volunteers to come in and help with dispatch. People volunteer. They show up and they have a meeting. They got a fish and game warden that says, all right, guys, this is how we're going to do this. This is the weapons you're allowed to use. This is the rules of engagement. And
hand-to-hand combat.
First person to breaks the rules gets shot by me. Any questions? All right, let's go do this.
I think we should do a contest here in Harris County where you just go out into the forest with a blade. That's all you can do.
I know hunters that do that.
That would be based.
There's a guy who is a famous television hunter. He got bored of how good he got at hunting with like a bow. So then he began hunting with a spear. And now, like, he's great at that. And he is uncanny how he can get so close to these animals that he can take them out caveman style with a spear.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Jacob, I didn't get a new house. I'm renting.
June says, let's talk turkey. LOL. My wife is grossing out.
All right. I guess I can let you guys know now. So, all right. So I've been on the carnivore thing 4 months. Just to recap, I've lost about 60 pounds. My plan is to go to February. But yesterday, I get home and my wife's like, okay, here's the plan. We've got 10 pies.
That's not how she sounds.
We got 10 pies. And I know you're doing the carnivore thing, but just so you know, we're going to have some keto options for you. We're going to have mashed potatoes without potatoes. It'll be cauliflower potato salad, mashed cauliflower.
Oh, that sounds good.
And then we're going to have keto-friendly, berry-driven pies. I'm like, oh, man. And the other thing was Brussels sprouts and bacon.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here like, okay, do I give myself the opportunity to have cauliflower mashed potatoes? Do I give myself the opportunity to have a pie made with berries? And do I give myself the opportunity to have Brussels sprouts and bacon? Or do I just eat the turkey and the calamari and the turducken all wrapped in one, wrapped in bacon and deep fried? Or do I just have a slice of turkey and ponder what mashed potatoes actually tasted like back when I used to have it? What do you think? What do you think I ought to do?
I say you have the potatoes, but only allow yourself one serving.
It's not real potatoes. It's cauliflower.
That sounds
terrible. Wait. So you're saying you're not going to actually have real potatoes?
No potatoes were harmed in the making of the mashed potatoes.
It's not worth it.
Then I'd say it's not worth it. If you're going to have a real potato, have the potato, but just one serving and a small one at that.
Don't do it, dude.
Don't do it.
Not worth it if it's keto stuff.
If it's keto stuff, don't do it.
Eat a mincemeat pie, says Jacob. True talks on the board for Grow Groceries. That makes sense in my head. The people know their doctor's first name, not their farmers in the pharmaceutical companies know this. Yay and amen. True story there. True talk.
Michelle Vaughn says cauliflower mashed potatoes sounds great. Michelle, I'm sorry. That sounds terrible.
So does Sonia. She's on the board. She says mashed cauliflower is pretty good. Brussels sprouts, not so much. Brussels sprouts are great. What are you talking about? Brussels sprouts and a bacon is a fantastic combination.
You too, Jesus. He says cauliflower mash is excellent. No. Why?
It's good.
It's terrible.
All right. Well, the other thing is I have been saving. We had a friend of the station here locally, who Carol is her name. She went to Europe,
the chocolate,
and she brought me back a Dutch chocolate bar. Right as that was going on, carnivore.
The problem is I just ate it yesterday,
and I put it in the refrigerator, and I've been holding on to it.
That was yours?
It's what do you mean that was yours? It's still mine.
Not anymore.
Don't touch.
We ate that like 2 months ago, dude.
So Do I give myself a pass and do I tomorrow devour that entire chocolate bar?
Good luck.
Let's just say you're going to have to order one.
I'm going to have to order one from the Netherlands,
Listen,
from
man,
Denmark, huh?
We kind of ate that. The best I could do is I can go to IKEA down the road.
Yeah.
And get some Swedish chocolate.
Meatballs with chocolate? Do they sell chocolate at IKEA?
They do. It's pretty affordable, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
There is
and it's good quality.
There is a place called Old Town Spring. It's right around the corner from my house, and it's got all these like very boutique-y, like quaint shops
full of occult stores.
Oh, there's some of that there too. But not only is there the watch shop, which I'm going to take my grandfather's watch to, but there is a German shop and a Dutch shop, both of which sell fantastic chocolate.
Joe, let me know when you're going to go, because I have this mantle clock, and I have to take the mechanism out. I already have the mechanism out. I just need to get it cleaned.
Yeah, that's what they do.
I'll let you know.
And they can do house calls too, by the way, they said.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, in case you have one of them grandfather clocks.
Sci-Fi says, can you make mashed potatoes from chicken? I hope not.
Yeah, you can.
I hope not.
That sounds much better than cauliflower.
I think I'm going to let myself have keto tomorrow. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to eat the cauliflower taters.
Hey, why?
I think I'm going to have the Brussels sprouts and bacon. I think I'll have the berry pie. And do I have honey? If I'm going to go ahead and do keto, can I have honey in my coffee for one day?
Might as well just go all the way.
You're right. I should just go for it and just have everything.
Just have everything.
Yeah.
At that point, why not?
Why not?
Just go for it.
And will I be a true... is this absolute betrayal on my part to the carnivore cause? That's the next question.
Well, you have to ask Dr. Stein about that.
He probably will never take my call ever again.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
I am a disgrace to the cause.
Goodbye, Joe's feet. See you in Gout Town, says Jacob.
Dang. Yeah.
Oh.
I guess we're about to find out, huh? Ashley, welcome. Good morning. I don't know.
White Wolf, is there anything that you like?
He said he likes peanut butter
hates
cookies.
Everything.
He said his favorite dessert is peanut butter cookies.
Honey and coffee is fantastic, White Wolf. You have no idea what you're talking about.
True Talk said, I'm fasting on the man-made holiday. So you're fasting on Thursday just because it's Thanksgiving? That's interesting. So you don't celebrate any man-made holidays?
So you're not going to buy me chocolates on Valentine's Day?
That's kind of interesting.
June Ybarra says your stomach is going to freak out. Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
We'll see. We shall
Joe's
see.
going to vom.
Now, my wife did get, she got almond flour. She got a huge bag of almond flour to make the pie with, so hopefully it'll be all right. Matthew.
Wolf, I'm with you on that one. Coffee's gross.
You guys are crazy.
Good morning. MCore050 says, my husband took his old Omega to that watch guy in Old Town Spring. He couldn't fix it because he couldn't fix it, but the guy's pretty good. Oh, I'm glad you actually said this. It says the Omega needs to go back to Omega. My husband just can't seem to let it go overseas. Interesting. I'm glad that somebody in the audience actually has an experience there, because I've been hesitant. I've been nervous about trying to get someone to look at my great-grandfather's watch. I think it comes from about the 1920s, so it's about 100 years old now. And it's you can actually hear the ticking. Let's see if I can play this video over the microphone, if I can get it to...
Don't trust him. The video is photoshopped.
The watch is ticking.
That's not real. That's fake.
Can you hear that?
Amazing.
My grandfather listened to that tick. My great-grandfather, I should say. So another thing is I could not find another example of the watch face online yesterday. I looked at it through a ton. I watched videos and looked at eBay posts and Etsy posts, and I could not find another example that looked exactly like this, which means I'm curious if the watch guy I take this to would have any knowledge about the history of some of these watches, because did they really just make that many unique versions of the watch faces? Like, that seems relentless as a manufacturer. Like, you would think they did, this model, we produced 10,000 of that model. That seems reasonable to me, but I could not find another example that looked exactly like that one. Seems crazy. Seems like there'd be a lot more.
You hear that?
That's the
clock.
That's the clock of life taken away.
Joe, I can hear your watch all the way from your house.
Kendrickson says some counties pay a bounty on hogs. Caldwell County will pay per set of ears. Yeah, because they want to get rid of them badly. In Ohio, says Crown Royal, hogs and coyotes have open season. Most flyover states have similar laws. Also, many have night hunting as well. Yeah, Texas does as well. But the problem is, in the neighborhoods, you can't just go out and start hunting. They don't allow for it. There are rules about hunting in neighborhoods that make that not work. But there is night hunting here. You know, the other thing, too, another species in the state of Texas that is considered invasive is access deer, which is a species that came from India. And ranchers brought them over in the 1930s.
What are they accessing?
So that they could have another species to hunt on their ranches. Well, these animals got out and they bred, and they breed faster and more often than white-tailed deer do. They're also more robust to the environment. They can go further without food or water than the white-tailed deer does. So they have been dominating in parts of Texas. So Texas says you can hunt them all year long whenever you want. And let me tell you, they are tasty. Very, very tasty. Highly recommend them. Imcore050 says, yes, the Omega belonged to an old Pearl Harbor survivor. Wow. And the guy could not fix it? Like, why was he not able to fix it?
Probably couldn't find parts.
Oh, really? Yikes. I hope that's not the same thing with my grandfather's watch.
Well, the good news is if it's ticking, it's most likely just needing to be cleaned.
Axis is yummy, says June. Spot on, brother.
The watch is yummy?
No, Axis is.
Oh, Axis.
Axis deer.
The Axis powers?
Joe, don't knock it till you try it. What are we? Oh, the cauliflower? Oh, well, I'm going to try it, I think, tomorrow. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to go keto for one day and then back on.
says, are they accessing my freezer by occupying it? I would like that. I invite them in. Genevieve says, hi, Adrian. I really miss you. You do really good on the game show, and I hope you never leave it. Man, you're asking me to stay here forever? I was planning on leaving. I was going to quit this year. Yeah. And Joe has to stay, though. Joe's serving his purgatory by staying.
Yeah, buddy. Adrian, not all healthy alternatives are gross. You are still young, but eventually you will also need to eat healthier. Take notes, Sonia says.
I will die.
Gloria, however, speaking prophecy and wisdom here, says, put some crumbled bacon on your mashed cauliflower. You will like it.
Look, I will eat the mashed cauliflower as long as we soak it in chocolate first. Mm-hmm. Then I will take a bite.
Chocolate is my favorite vegetable.
Me too.
So this makes sense. Yeah, this makes sense. Anyway, so tomorrow, praise be to God, we have a really gripping conversation about a cookbook.
Yes, it's excellent.
Also published by Dan, called Catholics in the Kitchen. So you're going to have to stick around for that. Then, of course, Dr. Rebard, philosophy prof at UST, some would say a Catholic university. And
some might say that.
And it's all about gratitude?
Yeah, that's correct.
And should we be grateful for that conversation?
We should.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's coming up tomorrow. And then Friday, what do we have on the show on Friday?
Friday, we're going to be producing content today. We're going to do the Gospel Saint of the Day. I'm going to air a segment that I recorded on the turkey indult. So if you're interested in that, can you have meat on the Friday after Thanksgiving?
Yes, you can.
Short answer, you can always have meat on Friday because the bishops don't care about anything. The long answer, turkey indult does not exist. So there you go.
So you do have to do some sort of penance.
Yeah, you have to do some penance.
Turkey does not exist, is what I just heard.
Well, birds don't exist, so obviously turkeys don't exist.
Conspiracy theorist?
Birds don't exist, so obviously a turkey is a bird. Therefore,
I see where you're going.
So, therefore, turkey and indult can't exist if birds don't exist.
Yeah.
Very simple. Jay Coke says Adrian hates vegetables. Yes, I don't. I can't eat vegetables. The reason why I can't eat vegetables is because I don't want to.
Wow. So. You just crushed sci-fi. I mean, with your fake news on the turkey indult thing.
Sorry, dude.
He says, Friday is my birthday. It's the bigger celebration.
Well, you can celebrate. You can have cake. Just can't have meat.
Should we sing happy birthday to him?
Why are you being so cruel?
Sorry, dude.
Happy birthday.
How's it go?
Yikes.
Happy birthday. Sci-fi mind.
Cringe.
That's pretty creepy. I'm gonna be honest
Let
with
me
you.
put a mole on my face.
Gunslinger wants to go hunting for hogs by helicopter. That seems crazy to me.
White Wolf.
But a lot of fun.
White Wolf said that he commented on my video on Luminous Mysteries. I saw them, White Wolf. It would take me a very long time to respond to them. You were right. Those were very long comments. I read them all, though. And speaking of which, of things that you can comment on, you should... the two Thanksgiving haters, White Wolf and... Who was the other one? It was True Talk. You should check out my video on Thanksgiving, and I talk about what the bishops and popes said about Thanksgiving before Vatican II. So check that out.
Sharon says, Adrian, my veggie-hating hubby just had a bypass surgery. He eats vegetables now.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm going to do instead. Instead of eating vegetables, I'm just not going to eat.
Just not going to eat.
Just going to fast.
My youngest son, Colby Thomas, he's 6. Last night we had the family. I didn't have it, but last night they had salad with chicken on the side, and I saw his plate down on the table, and we were upstairs. I'm like, Colby, you got to go down and eat. He goes, I'm fasting.
Same.
I go, what?
Same.
He goes, yeah, it's penance. I'm fasting. This is my 6-year-old. I'm like,
dude.
I go, you're not going to fast? He goes, oh, I'm fasting. I'm like, no, you're going down right now. And for your penance, you're going to eat that salad first. That little, he's going to be an attorney when he grows up.
It's like, oh, you're fasting. Okay, takes the salad away, brings in the second course for everybody else. I'm not fasting anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Little stinker pot. All right. God love you all. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Next 2 days is pre-recorded, but brand new content nonetheless. Enjoy your Thanksgiving with your friends and your family members, and we'll see you back here on Monday, bright and early, where we will be talking to... Everybody look at Rudy for a second. Rudy? Who are we talking to, buddy? Any ideas?
Maybe talk. Hold on. I'll tell you in just a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you right now.
Can you be quicker?
We're going to be talking to.
Sorry, what? Huh?
We're going to be talking to. Oh, dang it!
It's okay. I paused it.
Oh.
Oh, you should have let it play out. That was the joke.
Well done.
Punchline Central over here. All right. God love you guys. We'll see you then. Bye bye.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. I have a friend in Jesus. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. He taught me how to live my life as it should be. It won't get done. If God don't do it, it won't get done. What up with that? What up with that? What up with that?
What are we talking about?
Come on, man.
Go, Brandon. I agree. Hey.